Nobody gets into this business to make a bad musical. But Michael Bennett, I remember him saying to me, if that person doesn't look good doing your step, then you need to change the step. Your job is to make sure when she steps on stage, every outfit she wears, she looks fantastic in. Every time she comes on with a new wig, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I said, every note she sings is incredible. If she can't sing the note, give her a new note. Give her a new joke if she can't land the joke. Or he, or they, or whoever's doing the part. Your job is to make them a star. If you don't do that, you've failed.
Yeah.
Not them.
Yeah.
They've got the talent. You hired them because they have the talent. So use the talent.
It's Broadway, bitch.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to It's Broadway, Bitch. I'm your host, Casey Balsham. As always, we have producer Mike in the studio.
Very excited.
We have social media guru Carlo over here. And
it's social media guru.
Social media
questions.
guru, yes. And you hear the voice of my next guest. I have here that I want you to say all your credits in under a minute, but I'm going to try to. Can you do it?
You're going to say it?
No, I want you to try.
I can't possibly say my credits.
I wrote down a bunch, and I don't even think I have it all. You're hearing the voice of, and you know this person from Legally Blonde, Boop, Will Rogers Follies, Good Man Charlie. You're a Good Man Charlie Brown, The Full Monty, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Peep Show in Vegas, Kinky Boots, On Your Feet, Pretty Woman, Hairspray. I'm like, there's so many. There's so many. Hairspray, Catch Me If You Can, Lacage, Broadway Bares, all over 50 productions. Director and choreographer Jerry Mitchell is here.
Oh, yeah. I'm clapping on my leg.
Clap on your leg. Jerry, all that stuff. I mean, what do you have free time? How are you even here right now?
I have lots of free time. You rehearse and you're busy, and then you're not rehearsing and you have free time.
And you have free time. Do you ever shut off? Or are you just kind of like constantly thinking about the next stuff?
I do shut off.
Perfect.
Any ocean, any beach shuts me off.
Any ocean, any beach. Yeah. Oh, because you have a house over
I have a house on Fire Island in the Pines, but I love to go warm places. Yeah.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
I think really my favorite beach is Saline Beach in St. Bart's.
St. Bart's.
Yeah. Gone there many, many times since the early 80s, before they really had an airport.
Oh, really?
They had a landing pad and a tree with a hut and a gendarme and a tent. That was kind of it. But then next year, I think they built an airport.
So, okay. So that's good. Because it's like when I read all these things, I'm like, this feels like something that you like, that you just constantly are going project, kind of like frog. So I'm happy to know that you take breaks. Because I feel like
one of the things I've learned in this world, but I've always been a great organizer and planner.
Yeah.
But really, it's about that. It's about planning your time and organizing your time to devote to each project, to give it your full self.
Yeah.
And how do you work that out? And, I listen, any of us in this business who are successful, I imagine, like to be busy.
Yes.
We like to work, right?
Yes,
that's that's the job.
But you also need to make sure that for your sanity, I'm sure that lying on a beach.
Especially as you start to age like a fine wine, you realize.
Like a fine wine.
A breath is good to take.
Yes, because you have been working for the past 4 decades. Which one of those decades would you have given up?
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't think I can answer.
No,
I don't think I'd give any of them up. They've all just, it's funny today, speaking to the social media guru, I told him downstairs as I was coming up, I posted a post on my Instagram, which I'm very active on.
Good.
And I saw Chess last night.
Okay.
And Michael Mayer directed it. And Michael happens to be my next door neighbor. We live in the same building.
Oh, fun.
He and his husband, Roger, live down the hall from me and my husband, Ricky. And funny enough, Michael gave me my first job as a Broadway choreographer in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Oh, really?
40 years ago, 1985, I flew on the Concorde to London with Michael Bennett and Bob Avian after a year of working on a new musical, Scandal, that never came to Broadway. Michael and Bob asked me if I would assist them on the original production of Chess, the musical. We were flying to London to start casting. And it was my first time going to London, first time out of the country. And Michael and Bob took me on the damn Concorde. And with Robin Wagner, and I land, and I'm in this hotel in Sloane Square, and they're staying in Rupert Everett's carriage house off Kings Road. I'd get up every morning, run down to the carriage house. We'd have breakfast and coffee, talk about the day. I'd get up and dance some steps. We'd go to the Prince Edward Theater. I'd get on stage and I'd take all of these actors through the audition process as the associate choreographer to Michael Bennett and Bob Avian on Chess. This was, Robert Fox was the producer, who is the producer of this revival that's on Broadway. And so, and this is the first time I didn't see the first Broadway production. I saw the first production in London, which Michael got sick with AIDS, pulled out. I went back to do Follies with Bob Avian, and I saw Chess, and Trevor Nunn then had directed it. And it was much different than Michael's concept.
Sure.
And his original design was still partially there because Robin's set was already built. But Trevor had adapted it for his aesthetic, which was not Michael's aesthetic. Michael's aesthetic was Dreamgirls, chorus line, simple, clean, nothing, the songs. This was presented like an opera / concert / Broadway show, much more in that world. Lauren Lataro's the choreographer. She did wonderful work. David Rockwell did the set, who is my longtime collaborator. But I just had a really special night at the theater because it reminded me of how fortunate I have been.
You've come a long way.
To hear that music 40 years ago before anyone else did, and now to see it have this kind of impact, and think how Michael and Bob are probably having a vodka upstairs saying yes.
You're like, I'm having a vodka downstairs. They're having a vodka
upstairs. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really a full circle moment in the theater.
Yeah, but I think that's a really, sometimes we need those moments to remember.
Yeah.
To be grateful. You know,
to be grateful, to be so fortunate to be in it, to have had this experience,
And I think when I was reading kind of your backstory too, it seems like I think you also had a very fortunate supporter in your father. It seems like he was very, very supportive of you being a performer.
Well,
which I love.
My parents were not supportive when I was young. They weren't. They didn't say no.
Right.
They were kind of busy. They both worked. They were worked, and my brothers were older, and they were in sports, and so I was doing sports because my brothers were doing sports. But I had this love for singing and dancing and theater, which bit me when I was 10 years old at the Pawpaw Village Playhouse in a production of The Music Man. And I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And everybody thought, oh yeah, right, and left me alone, really.
Yeah.
And then as I got more into it, and this little snowball became a big snowball, became an avalanche. They went, oh fuck, he's serious.
Got it.
And then they saw, I remember my dad coming to my first dance recital. I was about 14. I'd been dancing now for only a year, maybe 15. And I did Singing in the Rain in a Yellow Slicker and Tap Shoes, the whole Gene Kelly thing. And my mom said my dad cried because he couldn't believe it. Because my dad was the one who would always yell, hey, Jerry, get in here. The guy's tap dancing on the Lawrence Welk show.
Yeah.
He would watch the Lawrence Welk show because he played the accordion.
Yeah.
And my dad was musical. So he showed up at everything. They came to everything, supported me on everything. My mom, too.
I mean, I just feel like not everybody has that. So
no.
Do you think that if you hadn't had that, do you think you would have still pursued? Or
yes.
do you think, you would?
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah.
I would have.
Is that your advice for if somebody's not supported by their family, just to be like, you know what, if this is what you want, just still go for it?
Yeah, you have to.
It feels like it'd be kind of hard if you didn't have the support at home.
Support from anyone for any reason makes it easier in life, right?
That's true.
It's nice when you've got somebody you can lean on when you get beat up, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have that and you really are passionate, I mean, ultimately people who succeed in this business are the ones who have endless passion for it.
Yeah, who are going to go regardless.
You have to have endless passion for it, because you are going to be jumping hurdles the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And I love that you were an athlete and you did drama. I mean, get you a man who can do it all.
I did high hurdles and high jump, so I can jump.
I love it. Okay, so we're writing a musical, me and you, about football. What would it be called, and who's playing our quarterback?
We're writing a musical about football. About football. It would be called Full Out, right?
Full Out.
Yeah,
That's
Full
your
Out.
saying.
That's it. That would be the title.
Who's our quarterback?
And who's our quarterback? Yes. Ooh, I'm going to say Aaron Tveit, because I saw him last night in chess, and he just, as always, thrills me. I've worked with him twice.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a million things. Aaron is the kind of performer that I look for every time I do a musical.
Yeah.
He is full out. He's at ease on stage. That tenor voice can sing any note you write. Right, and Christopher was equally as magnificent, as was Leah Michelle, as was Hannah Cruz. They all are full out. They could all be on the football team.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody, we're doing it. We've got a full cast. Okay. I love that. I just also like that you did both of it. Like, because I think some people think you can do one or the other, and it's like you can do whatever you
want. You mean
want.
direction or choreography?
No, athlete and drama.
Oh God, yes.
I think you don't have to pick.
And they helped.
That was me.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah, that was Mike.
Listen, my dancing, I didn't really go to dance school until I was 15 because I was on the way home from football practice racing my friend who was on a Solex, one of those motor-powered bikes, and I was on my 10-speed. My chain broke. I went over the top, broke my collarbone. I was afraid of being gay, so I didn't go to dance class yet. I kept getting asked, very Billy Elliot, and I said, I'm going to go to keep my legs in shape for basketball.
There you go.
I had an excuse. I got into dance class. She paid me to teach the little kids on Saturday because I could already tap, gave me free lessons all week long.
Yeah.
I lived in the studio.
Yeah.
Once I was there, couldn't get me out for 2 years. I was in that studio dancing, but I was still playing basketball and playing on the track team.
Yeah. So you don't have to choose.
Yeah.
You can be both. You can do whatever you want. Speaking of now we did our fake musical casting. I'm always interested as a director, at what point in the process of a show do you get involved in the casting? Or do you have people in mind that you're like, I would like to throw this person in? Because I know you worked with Jasmine Amy Rogers and
Yeah. I
Becoming
have
Nancy
people in mind. I'm working on a new musical and I was just reading and then I went, I have to call Cheyenne Jackson.
Yeah.
I have to call Cheyenne Jackson because I'm reading and I'm going, this is Cheyenne Jackson. Will Cheyenne Jackson do it? Who knows? But I know Cheyenne Jackson, and so I'm going to talk to him later today. But I will often read a piece if a piece is given to me, or if I'm taking a movie and translating it to the stage.
Sure.
As the writing begins, or even sometimes before the writing, I start to think of people who might fill some of the roles. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that happens or not, usually, with readings, 29-hour readings. You don't audition actors anymore. You just ask them to come do the reading.
Yeah.
So it's a chance for them to try out the material and for you to try them out. You get to work together, collaborate in a 29-hour reading and see if that's a good fit. You know, one of my greatest memories in all of the times I've done shows was I was working with Jack O'Brien. He was the director. I was the choreographer of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah.
And we were trying to cast the lead character, the Michael Caine from the movie. And Jack said we should have John Lithgow play this part. And so it was a straight offer to his agent, right? He was very hot from what was that series where he played
30 Rock.
Third Rock.
30, yeah,
Third
he
Rock
was
from the Sun.
Third Rock.
Third Rock from the Sun. He was
Third Rock,
I think he had just won lots of Emmys and
That
whatever.
was big, yeah.
And I mean, Garb. I mean, come on, he's just brilliant.
Yeah.
And so we just offer it to him. And
Okay.
John comes back and he says, thank you for the offer. I would love to be considered, but I must come in and audition for you. I must sing and I must read, because he wanted to make sure that he was a fit for the material and that we were a fit to work together. And I thought, this is the guy who's at the top of the food chain, and he's not taking the offer. He's saying, let's get in a room and let me audition and see if this is the fit. And it was, of course, a perfect fit. But that reminds me of, a real artist in this business who realizes that it is about the work we're going to do together to create this thing.
How often has that happened before where somebody has wanted to do that? Or is that
It
just John?
it happens. It happens a lot.
Good.
But I will say it happens more with seasoned actors than it does with young, hot actors.
Yeah, they're like, no, I'm in.
Because
Give me that.
the seasoned actor wants to make sure it's a match, and the young one is more like offer only, right?
Really?
How
Yeah.
often do they ask, let me audition instead? And you go,
Yeah.
ooh, thank God you did.
Yeah,
You're out,
that's the
buddy.
thing.
Yeah.
Or I say, I really want this particular person who is a star or a rising star, but we got to get in the room together and sing a song and read a scene.
Right.
Because I want to make sure it's a match. I want to make sure it's a fit
Yeah, because I know, we've read
for both of us.
right, and I think we've all read the stories with Jasmine Amy Rogers how at first she wasn't your boob,
No.
and then she said, I'm gonna tap.
Well,
And then she,
not only
yeah.
that, Jasmine and I had already worked together.
Yes.
So we had done Becoming Nancy. Jasmine auditioned for me for Becoming Nancy fresh out of school. She had just finished 2 years of school. She came in, and I was having a really hard time casting this part. I didn't know who she was. She came in, she sang one song, read one scene. I said, this is my girl. I love her. She came in, and she was the third star of the show, let's say.
Yeah.
And she had songs, and we wrote for her once we got to know her. The people wrote for her, and what I got to figure out with Jasmine, besides her being beautiful and incredible in Becoming Nancy, was Jasmine was the kind of person I want in the room, which
Right.
is somebody who is going to work every single day. They're going to show up an hour early and leave an hour late, and they're going to just be in it to win it.
Yeah.
So, those are the people I try to surround myself. So Boop, she came in and I thought, and then she couldn't do the tap, and then she went away, and I looked at a lot of people, and I said, we got to get Jasmine back. And she had done some tap, and I said to Rochelle, go get her and help her and work with her. And I said to DB, my associate director, get her and work with her and help her, because I think I was making her choke because I'm daddy, right? We had worked together, and she wanted to please me, and I said, don't please me, just do the material. You're enough. And that her last audition, I came in and I said, look, I'm already chosen you. You just got to tell these producers, I'm Betty Boop, hire me today, and don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
And that's what she did in that last audition.
And she was. Like,
It was insane.
Incredible.
I believed that she
Incredible.
was.
Incredible performance.
And it was like, did you feel a sense of pride when she was up there then with Audra and with Nicole? Like these crazy.
Unbelievable.
And people were like, she could take this.
Well,
Like,
I thought
and
she was going to.
I thought she was
quite
going to,
honestly
too.
thought she was going to. Yeah, I thought. And I think she's still. I think they all deserved a Tony for that season, but she was.
There's a reason why it was the last category that night.
she
It was
was-
people were.
She's one of the
bated breath.
rare times where I've seen an interview with an actor and then I'm like, oh, they're a real person. Because I've seen the show and I'm like, I forgot that
That's
she
Betty
was
Boop.
a human person doing a character. I was like,
She was so
that's not what she
believable.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Like that's how much she was the role.
Yeah, she,
Yeah.
Perfect for
I
her.
She
mean,
really
this is
became
the
it.
crazy thing about awards, right? Like awards, come
Yeah.
on, right? In our business,
Yeah.
how do you compare? How do you compare a brand new creation of a character that's never been done
Mm-hmm.
by an actress at that level, giving that kind of a performance, to another actress who's doing a revival of material that hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's different. It's the same material that's been done by so and 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 so.
Famously by so and so.
Famously by others. And how do you compare those? It's like even with a director and choreographer, I quite honestly think it's impossible to compare my work in Boop to Michael Arden's work in maybe Happy Ending, or anybody else's work on any other show or musical. How do you compare it? The difference, and how do you compare a director's work on an original musical to a director's work on a revival? One is you're remodeling, and the other is you are
originating.
building.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Completely different jobs.
Yeah.
A decorator and a builder do not do the same job.
No.
And they are completely different jobs. And any choreographer or director who has done both, a musical and an original, a revival and an original, will tell you, or should, they're not the same. Sometimes
how
you're
could they
dealing
be?
with dead estate who won't let you change a note or a word. And sometimes you're dealing with a composer and you go up to Cyndi Lauper and go, Cindy, that song isn't good enough. I need a better song for Lola's first entrance.
Right.
3. She wrote me 3 numbers until we got to Land of Lola.
Really?
3.
Because you had that.
I could have settled for the first,
Yeah.
Angel Gone to the Devil, and the show wouldn't have been the show it was.
Right.
But it wasn't good enough for what we wanted to say.
And that's the difference between seeing the existing thing.
It didn't exist. We had to build
Right.
it.
Right. That's so interesting. I've never thought about the difference between directing Gypsy, directing Boop. You built.
Remodel,
You remodeled.
build.
Yeah, you built. They remodeled.
Yeah.
And you also
Or
choreographed.
redecorate.
Redecorated.
Yeah.
And you also choreographed Boop. Like, I need to know what kind of fever dream was happening for you to come up with the black and white sequence. That was, I mean, like, it was like one of those things that you watch it and you're like, blink, blink, like, I can't
you mean
even...
the top of the second act?
Yes.
Well, so it all goes back to the writing, right? It all starts at the writing. So when David and Susan and Bill Haber, the producer, first asked me to do Boop, they pitched me the show that they had already had.
Sure.
They'd been working on it for quite a long time. Bill had the rights for 25 years, but David and Susan had been working on a version for quite a long time. They pitched it to me. I listened to the music and read the script, and I went and met with them at the Manhattan Theater Club in a rehearsal room. I'll never forget it. And because David doesn't take elevators, so it had to be a studio you could walk up to. And so, I said, guys, there's some music here that I can't stop getting up and jumping around and dancing to. I said, but there's no story.
Sure.
So if you want me to do this, we have to start from scratch and we have to come up with a new story. And I said, here's what I've been thinking of. And I pitched this very simple idea that we meet Betty Boop in her black and white world where she was famous in the 30s, and something's missing, love. She goes on a journey to the new world today, which is in color, to find it, and she's black and white in a color world, and she finds it, but she has to go back to her black and white world, and when she goes back, love follows her, and when it kisses her, her world turns to color. So your life is never full of color until your life is full of love. That was my elevator pitch.
I mean, that's the story.
And they bought it.
Yes. So
and we started writing that show.
Yeah.
And Bob came on board and we wrote that show. We're in Chicago. We don't have an opening to the second act. We have a mishmash of stuff from previous versions that they had written, which there was no real song. It was a mishmash of song pieces. But it was still, they were searching for Betty in the real world. After seeing all the tools I had to play with and seeing how quickly with those video walls we could go from black and white to color, I went to Greg and I said, can you make me a costume that's black and white on one side and color on the other? Because I've seen this, the bride and groom, but I've never seen this.
No.
Boom, boom. And I said, if you make that, I can match it with the screens. David, and Susan, if you can write me a song, here's a template of a song from the 30s that I want it to sound like. And this is what it needs to say. Now we knew what we needed to say. And also, Faith and Stephen didn't have a number in the second act. So I said, let's let them lead it and open the show because they're both searching for Betty, the second act. I said, we've got the perfect curtain raiser for a second act of a musical like this. Yeah. And I also had learned that the tap number that opened the show in the black and white world gave the audience exactly what they wanted.
I was just saying, it's like hard to
and
top
so
the opening number.
I needed a number that one of the things you learn in musicals is your job is to make the audience comfortable and feel like they're in secure hands.
Yeah.
Da-dun, da-dun, dun, dun. Again. Ba-da-da-da. I know where I'm at. I know they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm ready. You know, when a musical starts, you either get the audience to lean forward, or you get them to yawn, or you get them to look in their purse, or you get their attention and say, we know what we're doing. We're going to do it this way. Here are the rules. Come on this ride with us, right?
Yeah.
And so we did that with Boop, and we needed to do it in the second act. And so between Chicago and New York, I found a way to do it.
I needed the black and white number, and there it is. Because I know that you talk about telling stories, and now that's like, you know, the backstory. You see that story you're trying to tell. What was the story you were so the story you're trying to tell in the opening number was just
she's a star.
Come in, she's a star.
I said by the time that number ended, everybody in the audience had to believe that Jasmine Amy Rogers as Betty Boop was a star.
And you believed it.
And you did. She tapped, she sang, she danced. She was the star of the number. And the camera came in at the end, and everybody was like, "Oh, Betty Boop's our star," and you know that was what we were trying to do.
It's accomplished, because I think trying to top that number and then somehow you did it with the black and white number is like insane. And congratulations, it's going on tour.
Yes.
How does a show like that tour though? It seems so big.
It will. Well, that's my job too.
Like, that's what I'm working on the beach in St. Bart's right now.
That's what you figure out. Everything has to come down. You know, you have to give them what you got on Broadway and it has to fit into less trucks. And
In
you
Denver.
have to you have to figure out how to
Yeah.
get it on the road. But
Yeah.
I did that with Legally Blonde. I've done it with all my musicals, and so yeah.
So that's your job then.
Yeah,
You are
with the
I wonder
designers.
about that.
With the designers, we go through the entire show and figure out how can we deliver the pictures with less.
With less,
Yeah.
but still giving the same
Yeah.
message. Because you do big numbers.
Yeah.
You're not small.
No.
You have these numbers that I literally am like, I was watching you. I watched this little clip of you rewatching some of your Broadway performances from like La Cage and from, was it Kinky Boots? Yes, maybe it was Kinky Boots. But your numbers are so, what was that?
Sorry.
The microphone.
That was the
Your
cat.
numbers are
Haunted
so-
house.
Cat, that was the
Your
cat.
numbers are so wickedly No, I mean, I feel like between the jump rope numbers and the kicks and the flips and
The treadmill.
the treadmill, like, do people know? Like, oh, I'm working with Jerry. Like, I need to train. Like,
Come on, full out,
are
people.
You known
Well, the jump
for
rope
needing
in
stamina?
Legally Blonde, when I wanted to do the jump rope number, I would
Yeah.
make the entire cast jump rope for an hour at the
Okay.
start of the day. Because we were,
Dude.
again, we were figuring that out
Yeah.
and I couldn't jump rope. I could not jump rope when we started, but I
Really?
knew I wanted to do a jump rope number. So I went home to Michigan because my middle brother, Ricky, is like, they're both athletes, but my
Yeah.
middle brother was an athletic director. He's retired now, and coach. And he was always, he had those chain link jump ropes.
Yeah.
And he was always like a crazy jump roper. And so I went home and said, teach me how to jump rope. Just show me how to basically jump rope.
Yeah.
And so he showed me a couple times. So I took that away. And then I hired, my ensemble. And does anybody jump rope? I had two who were like really great jump ropers,
Yeah.
like trick jump ropers. So we started every day with jump roping. And first we did jumps, then we did swipes, then we did double jumps, then we did cross jumps. And then I started putting combinations together. And we just built it by building up our jumping skills.
I mean, it's insane. I
Yeah.
mean, were people like,
And we all got
we're not gonna
like
do this.
snatched while we were doing
Dude,
it.
I mean, it's an entire, I was like, how do people react when you're like, jump and sing and go?
Yeah.
So, because I was wondering what the build up, because you read these things for like Taylor Swift, who's doing the 3 hours, and they're like, she's just running on a treadmill for
Well,
hours and singing.
This is what I told
like you need the
Marissa
same
to do
kind of
when we
thing.
were doing Hairspray. I said,
Yeah.
I want you to get on the treadmill
Yeah.
every day, and or the bike, and I want you to pedal or ride or run or walk fast and sing your songs full out. Because you're going to have to sing and move in this musical, Hairspray. You're not going to be able to stand still. And so I told Marissa, get on the treadmill. I told Laura Bell, I said, get on the bike, get on the treadmill, run and sing, so much better, because you're going to be in high heels running
Yes.
upstairs.
Yes. Because you watch those and you're just like, I remember watching the, which we're going to talk about, the MTV, the Search for Elle Woods, and watching the things, and just watching Laura Bell Bundy do these things and watching the jump rope scene, being like,
Yeah.
how? In what world?
Just
are people doing that?
practice. Lots of practice.
Just jumping rope every day for an hour for months
Yeah.
upon end. I also because you worked for choreography. You were choreographer first, and
Yes.
I love this quote that you said. You're like,
Was a dancer first.
you were a dancer first, yes, but you were also saying when you kind of started, dancers didn't talk.
Not at all.
Not at all.
When I was a dancer,
Yeah.
you just came in and did whatever you were told to do.
And I'm wondering, because today, obviously, with social media, we all have a voice. Everybody
Yeah.
talks. We're very talky now.
Yeah.
Do you ever find like that there are people that come in and are like feel entitled or don't want to, or like kind of talk back to you and question you, and you're like, no,
Yes. Yes.
yes. And
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I just think that I think collaboration is collaboration.
right.
The director obviously has the final say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think with experience, you become more confident in that
yeah.
you have the final say, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna. I don't like to strong arm people.
Sure.
We're all there to nobody gets into this business to make a bad musical,
No.
right? Everybody wants to succeed.
Sure.
So, and so many lessons were taught to me by those geniuses who people didn't get a chance to respond with them,
Yeah.
right? From a different time period. But some of those lessons were some of the they didn't know this, the people who were in those musicals, but Michael Bennett, I remember him saying to me, if that person doesn't look good doing your step, then you need to change the step. Your job is to make sure when she steps on stage, every outfit she wears, she looks fantastic in. Every time she comes on with a new wig, it's perfect.
Yeah.
I said, every note she sings is incredible. If she can't sing the note, give her a new note. Give her a new joke if she can't land the joke. Or he, or they, or whoever's doing the part. Your job is to make them a star. If you don't do that, you've failed.
Yeah.
Not them.
Yeah.
They've got the talent. You hired them because they have the talent. So use the talent. So I always say when I'm working with younger directors or associates or assistants, I say, I don't have to do that. I could do that 10 different ways.
Right.
So if something doesn't look right, tell me, because you're sitting with me because I trust your eyes. I want to collaborate and make it the best version it can be.
Yeah.
So it's really, and of course, young people want to have a voice. Everybody wants to have a voice. And in our society today, it's funny because, chess, last night, again, I'm going to go back to it, they really found a way to make it speak to an audience today.
Right.
That's why it was a great night.
Yeah.
And this is the third time's the charm, maybe, because the other two times.
We did a concert a while ago that had a lot of interest, right? A couple, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
or
this
something?
this is that concert.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying this is the third time it's been
Right.
West End, Broadway. So
Right.
this is the third time it's been done in a first class production, and maybe they've cracked the nut.
Maybe they have.
Here's a question: when Jerry Mitchell wants to go see chess, you just buy a ticket, or they?
Oh yeah.
Can you go get?
Yeah, I
can
buy
somebody
house
give you
seats.
one?
I buy house seats like
Okay.
everybody else. Yeah, I buy house seats. I go on Today Tix. Plug. Give me a percentage there. I go on Today Tix. I just love that app. I just go ping, get my
Yes.
ticket, right? But usually I get house seats.
Yeah.
I pay for house seats.
Yeah. Because those are the first couple, the third to the sixth.
Well,
row
they're
or something
usually
like
where the directors always sit when they're
Yes.
watching their shows.
Yeah.
So, there's a series of house seats that are
Right.
held for and industry people who are, and friends of industry and friends of the actors.
Right.
So they're usually
Pretty
the G area.
that. Yeah, but you pay for them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Full
Why don't
price.
you buy
Full
it?
price.
Can a Jerry Mitchell go? Come on.
Give me a
Is
free
there a
ticket.
guy-
Give me a freebie.
Is there a person
Throw me a
in the
bone.
world of people that are in charge of Broadway?
Oh yes.
I don't want to put
yes.
you too much
like,
of a pedestal.
Like
but let's
a
be
lot of the
honest.
general managers that
Yeah.
I've worked with. If I've seen a show and I've paid for a show and I've already gone and like one of my stars from a past
Right.
show is going into the role and I go, you know what, I really want to see this, but I don't want to. Can I stand at the sound desk or is there a seat in the back? And I'll go see them in the show and
Okay.
they'll
Yeah.
find a seat for me. Yes, of course.
Well, I was just wondering, is there everyone has a favorite drug, the one drug dealer that knows everybody?
A
Is
quid
there
pro
a ticket
quid pro
drug
quo
dealer?
for Broadway
Yeah.
tickets.
Or did they ever say, Jerry, listen, or they're in previews and they're like, I need you to come stand in the back and get an eye on this. And tell me how I
yes,
tweak it.
That I will gratefully do for anyone who asks.
Really?
Because Michael did it, and so did Jerry Robbins.
Right.
And I learned from them that your opinion, if it's asked, if it's welcomed, is part of your responsibility in the community you're a part
Yeah.
of. Look, we're not in competition with each other.
Right.
One successful show makes people come to town to maybe see other successful shows or help get other shows to be successful. So, it's great to have that support.
Sure.
And I've done it for many shows and many friends.
Yeah, we've talked. Somebody else we were talking about trickle down theater.
I don't remember who that was.
It
but
might have
yeah.
actually even been Eric Bergen when we had
Oh,
him on.
possibly.
And we might have
Yeah.
been talking about maybe you come to this show, but then you end up seeing this and this and this, and it all helps everybody.
Yeah. yeah.
So it's great. Legally Blonde, I have to talk about it. Soft spot in my heart. Obviously, your first time directing and choreographing.
Yes.
Did you have an oh shit moment, or you went, oh gosh, I'm doing both?
No,
No.
not at all. I
You
was
were
so
ready.
ready. I was so ready. So
Amazing.
Mike Isaacson and Kristen Caskey, the producers of Charlie Brown, my first job as a choreographer,
Right.
were also two of the lead producers of Legally Blonde. And Mike now runs the Muni. Kristen's with ATG, running ATG here.
Sure.
And Hal Luftig, who did Kinky Boots and that with me, and Dori Berenstein, who I spoke about, who has the podcast Nation, and she produced that and Halftime with me. So those 4 producers had gotten the rights to Legally Blonde, threw the DVD on the table at the meeting, and said, we've got the rights to this. We want you to direct and choreograph it. I said, well, this is perfect because I just broke up in a relationship with my Warner Huntington III, and I'm not going to let that ruin me. So I was Elle Woods at that moment. It was perfect timing.
Like it's hard?
and I said, yes, I'm ready. And
Yes.
so we didn't have a composer yet. We didn't have a book writer. They hired me first. And
Yeah.
so I was part of the choosing of Larry and Nell and Heather. And that process was fascinating because lots of people, they had sent out a thing to all of the agents that they were going to make this into a musical, and did any of their clients want to submit a song or two from a scene or two from the movie?
Yeah.
And so we got several submissions, and I asked the producer to put all of those songs on one CD. We were CD at that time. All the songs on one CD and label them Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, and give me the lyric sheets but no names. And so they did. I went to the beach and I listened to the songs and the CD, and they had listened, and we got back together, and I said, I choose group, boom. And I don't know what group it was, but it was the song, Oh My God, You Guys.
Yes.
And there was a song, Legally Blonde Ballad, and there was a third song called Stop Dickin' Around, which was Warner's breakup song to Elle. And I told them they could not do that song because you can't have a lyric that says stop dicking around, stop dicking around, stop dicking around when there's 13-year-old girls in the house.
Right.
And we want 13-year-old girls in the house, so you're going to have to rewrite that song. And they wrote Serious. But they were the ones who clearly had that voice for this musical. And then I was shipped off to LA to have a meeting with this girl who had written Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. And I got a script of another thing that she had written about sorority sisters the night before I met her. I read it. I'm sitting in this hotel in Century City waiting for her to arrive, and I see this blonde woman across the way with her hair pulled back in a ponytail, a little pencil skirt, a blouse, and looking lovely, and carrying a little Louis Vuitton or like bag. And she comes over and sits down. Hi, I'm Heather Hucker. And I said, you're hired. Basically, it was like, you are Elle Woods.
You are Elle Woods.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't realize, and you were talking to Carla about this. I was wondering why I was walking out of Bat Boy singing "Just Let Me Be," because it's the same composers, right?
Yeah.
Because those
it's Larry, not Nell. It's Larry.
Okay,
Larry
part
did
of it. But
yeah.
I was like, there was some similarities. I was like,
Yeah.
why? And then I was reading the playbill. I was like, oh, this makes sense because Legally Blonde has so many earworms.
Yeah.
That musical is like.
Yeah.
You listen to it once and you're like,
well, I
memorized it.
still think out of all of the musicals I've ever worked on, it was the most underrated when it opened.
Yes.
And to this day, it's still one of the best written modern musicals structurally, and wit, lyric, song, all of it. I still think it's one of the best. Yeah.
Have you seen those compilations online?
I have a T-shirt that says "Revive Legally Blonde." People want it back.
Listen, if you go on the TikToks and the Reddits, everybody wants it.
Yeah.
Have you watched those compilation videos of Courtney, Take Your Break? Where
Yes,
it's just
yes,
like,
yes,
every
yes,
production.
yes.
I love those. But so here's okay. Legally Blonde came out because yes, it got mixed reviews, but it got 7 Tony nominations.
Yes.
Didn't end up winning any. What do you think? But people loved it.
People
so
loved it.
What do you think is the disconnect between the reviewers and the Tony voters and the audience? Like, why weren't we all on the same page? Because, like you said, it was well written. The music is amazing, well directed.
Well, you know what? First of all, critics love them or hate them.
Right.
They're going to be there.
They are
But opinions are like
assholes.
everybody has one,
They
and
all
most
smell.
of them stink. Right? I'm not the
Yes.
first person to say it, but
No.
it's just an opinion. If you live your life only through a critic's opinion, I'm feeling very bad for you right
It's
now.
not a life worth living.
Because you got to try a restaurant that a critic find a restaurant that a critic hasn't found that you want to say, this is my restaurant because. Find a book that a critic hasn't found that you say, this is my story because. Find a movie, find a musical, find an opera, find something you love, and you love it for your reason, right? Ultimately, commercial theater is like fishing with a net. We throw it into the sea, and if we come back with a few fish, the show's going to close. But if that net is full, baby, you're going to run. And you can't make a living, but you can make a killing if you're that fisherman, right?
I almost find like negative critic reviews of a show to be like, oh, I have to see this now because
this guy
there's
sounds
no
like an
way
idiot.
this guy's right. And normally they're not. It's like, what were you watching?
Michael,
what were you watching?
Yeah.
Michael had a great relationship with Frank Rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, learned by osmosis. So I'm in Chicago and we're doing Kinky Boots, and the review comes back by Chris Jones, who writes for the Tribune, and some of it's very promising, but he had some problems. And I thought, what is he talking about?
You have problems?
What is he talking about?
Yeah.
And I said, I told the publicist, get me I want to take him out for lunch and a drink, and I want to find out what he's talking about. And so I asked to have lunch and a drink with Chris Jones, and we go out to dinner. We have the most amazing dinner. We are great friends now. And in this business, I actually look forward to how he sees the production when I take it to Chicago, what he's going to write about it. And then every time I've gone with other shows, On Your Feet, Pretty Woman, and future shows, Boop, I take him out after his review and we talk about it. So what happened with Kinky Boots was the boxing match happens, right? Now, I was in a unit set, and so we're in the factory and there's sewing machines and all that stuff, but the thing opened up and I took 2 rubber bands and put a girl's leg in the air, a drag queen's leg in the air, and we had a boxing match, and Kenny Posner lit it beautifully, and I was in the boxing match. He wasn't there. He thought we were doing the boxing match in the factory, and he said that in his review, and I was like, we're not in the factory, we're at Fisticuffs Pubs. Why does he not? And I watched it the next night and I went, oh my God, the sewing machines are lit. I don't know, there's no sign. I said, Gary Marshall taught me, this was after that, but Gary Marshall said, always have a sign, always have a sign. So I said to Harvey, I said, we got to fly in a sign, and you got to have Stark and Anna Lee go across the stage and say, where are we going? We're going to Fisticuffs Pubs to watch Lola in a boxing match. Lola's going to get killed. Lola's a boxer. Oh my God. Give me tell me where I'm going. Show me where I'm going. Now I know where I'm going. Turn the light off on the sewing machines. It was simple, but it was focus. Often the job is focus. How do you focus your story? Right? And it was just a great critic moment for me so out of town critiques are so welcome because you can learn from them and you can change and you can disagree or agree.
That's why you do them,
but once you're in town, who fucking cares what they say?
Yeah.
Because they don't matter. You know what matters?
You're here.
The audience matters.
Yeah.
The audience has to say yes, and then they got to go out, hopefully at intermission, but if not, by the end of the show, and call 2 friends and say, go see it. And then those 2 friends got to come and call 2 friends, and that's what builds a show.
Yeah.
Wicked got bad reviews, kids.
Yes. Yeah, you watched that, what's that documentary when it was coming out with, and they were all sitting at, what's under Parson Charlie, Joe Allen, and they're like, I don't know about this. And then you're just like, well, now it's made more money than God himself, but it is crazy.
Especially next week.
Yeah, really.
Especially next week. I know Duncan's already got the Wicked Munchkins, which I refrain from. I'll have everybody know. But it is like, it's such a crazy property. So now that you're friends with this critic, do you think he ever like holds back when he writes his reviews?
No, I hope not.
Okay, that's
I
great.
hope not.
I love that. Okay.
Look, if something isn't working, I know.
You know.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, he's a trusted. You trust his opinion.
Yeah, but
his critique.
even before a critic comes in, I know when a show is good, and I know when a show is okay.
Right.
Name 3.
No.
Of my own.
Well, I am curious.
No, but I know when a show is good. Boop was a great night out. It was a great musical.
It was the most fun.
And it was definitely what I intended it to be for the audience that absolutely adored it. The problem was we didn't get enough people in the house. Yeah. We don't get enough people in the house, your show closes. That's it.
How much did the Hannah Solo's tweet or her
TikTok
actually could you see that?
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. I saw that.
Boop.
No,
we could see Boop.
My 2-year-old daughter
like
still
ticket sales at all? Like, because it felt like it was
no,
everywhere.
I don't.
Yeah,
not enough.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, fair.
Not enough, because it did feel like people were going to see it just to use the also using it for the TikTok
Yeah, yeah.
sound.
It was what I
which is a
call
fun thing.
what I call a rehearsal room laugh, right?
Yeah.
It's like it was
For the inside.
it was an industry. It was
Yeah.
an industry. We got it.
Yeah.
The general population maybe 1.4%.
And I think when you get off of theater talk, you realize you're like, oh, nobody else is saying we could see Boop, but it's
Yeah,
like within our
yeah.
community, I'm like,
We could
everybody
see Boop.
Even my daughter, Goldie, still sometimes walk around and be like, Boop, because I like would video her
Yeah.
saying, I'm like, say we could see Boop. I see what you're saying, where you're like, it was a fun night.
Yeah.
But if people aren't in, it doesn't matter how fun it is, they're not gonna see it. So that's what I'm kind of wondering about with Legally Blonde, and maybe there was this. Were people not coming to see? Because I want to know kind of the history of the Search for Elle Woods. Was it like something that the show, you're like, we need something, did they approach you? Did you guys come up with this idea? How was that born?
Amanda Lippitz, who's a wonderful producer.
Sure.
She, I think, was the one who was behind that.
Okay.
She
Producer Broadway or producer MTV?
producer Broadway shows, but young, up and coming. She was underneath Margot Lyon, who was the producer of Hairspray.
Okay.
But she was involved with Legally Blonde, and she had a connection at MTV and got them interested in doing this. And then our producers, Hal, Mike, Kristen, Dory, all got on board, and we did the MTV Live, which was phenomenal.
I mean, it lives in infamy.
This was a Broadway Live moment before Grease, before Hairspray, before
Yes.
Jesus Christ Superstar,
Yes.
before all of those things on NBC and the other channels. This was the way to do it. In the theater,
with the Hill
with a
stars
live
who were
audience
so hot at
who
the
were
time.
responding to the material. You know, live theater needs a live audience. They got it right with Jesus Christ Superstar.
Mm-hmm.
But when we did Hairspray Live, we didn't have a live audience until the finale. And I always felt we should have had a live audience through
Right.
the whole thing. But you know, that's what it's about. It's about being there with other people, sharing. The theater is about sharing with a group of strangers.
Totally.
Right? It's a community coming together to share something for the first time together. So there's the anticipation of, are we going to like it? Are we going to hate it? Are we going to love it? Are we going to scream? Are we going to clap? Are we going to cry? You know, it's all of that. And that's magic. That is just magic that you can't get anywhere else. And so that event, filming that event, and then having it go all around the world made the show a bigger idea. Then MTV was excited about the Search for Elle Woods. We made a deal to make that happen. Not only did we have that event, but some of those girls then went out on the first national tour. So when I put the first national tour out, I was tasked with how do I take that show and put it on tour when we can't afford to take that show and put it on tour. I had to reconstruct the entire show to fit into 6 trucks and send out a tour that had no automation in it. I succeeded. The show made its money back in something like 32 weeks, and it ran for 2 years, which prompted the London production, which was the touring production with a few bells and whistles, which won the Olivier for Best Musical, Best Actress, Best Featured Actress, which prompted Australia, which won the Helpman Award for Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Musical, Best Actress, Best Featured Actress, Best Direction, Best Choreography. It just kept snowballing, and now it's done by more secondary rights holders. It's one of the top musicals that's done around the world still to this day.
And we need it. We need it back.
Yeah, it'll
I want to see it.
get here
It'll be
someday.
successful when it
Oh,
comes back.
God, yes.
What? So when you're scaling down for tour, what's the first thing you cut to make it fit into budget?
It depends on how deep you want to make that cut.
Right.
I mean, if you're going like Boop is gonna have to really. I'm gonna have to really think about how to hold on to what I need and get rid of everything else. You know, a deck of a Broadway show takes up 1 semi.
Yeah.
So the first thing you think is, do I need a deck? Can I do it without any deck automation, which allows you to roll out a Marley floor and put the show on that and take it around? So I've done Pretty Woman, I've done Kinky Boots, I've done Legally Blonde. I've done all those shows without any deck. Kinky Boots had a winch in the first year of the tour, and then we took that out and we did it. Maybe we had a snap deck and a winch, but a snap deck is a super quick deck. Couple hours it's down. But most decks take, 6 or 7 hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours. But then everything has to load in on top of that. You got to get the deck down, and then you got to load it out. And you want your load in and load out time to be in 13 hours or whatever it is, or less loading out. So it's all about the business part of it. And you learn those things the more you're in it about how you as a director can help the bottom line, right? When we were developing Kinky Boots for Broadway, I was really, really, with David and the team, I was like, we've got to keep the running costs super low to help us ensure success. So the running costs at that time in 13 when it opened, I think were like under $600,000, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And the show was grossing 1.5 to 1.8 when it was successful. So we paid back very quickly, which made it a big success, right? But, you know, I knew going in, we had a title that said kinky, and people didn't know what that meant. So that's dangerous. And we didn't have a star, right? So this is our business right now, our Broadway business. I don't want to say is broke, although it is, but I want to say is challenged in a way it's never been challenged before because of the cost to put on a show and the cost to run a show. So the challenge for the directors and the choreographers and the producers is to find insurance. And how do you find insurance? You find insurance in stars, and you find insurance in titles that audiences want to see before you ever start to make the show. So The Devil Wears Prada, which I've done out in the West End, is doing boffo business because everybody wants to see The Devil Wears Prada.
I know.
Pretty Woman, Pretty Woman has 3 companies in Australia for a year, in South Africa, and a new company in Japan. And Pretty Woman was not a success on Broadway, a financial success. Neither was Legally Blonde. They are humongous successes on the road and in these other markets.
Wow.
Huge successes.
Do you think is it just because it's cheaper to make it? Because I know that people are now starting, instead of doing some of these out of towns, they're just going to the West End before because it is cheaper to do it.
People want to go out and have a good time.
They do.
Right now especially. You want to go to the theater and have a good time.
You want to get buzzed.
I want to have a really good time. I want to have my gin and tonic in London and watch the fashion and The Devil Wears Prada and see Vanessa
Williams
say no, dear, it wasn't a question. You want that, right? So that's that. So let's give it to them.
Are we getting Devil Wears Prada here?
We're getting it. I don't know when, but we're doing Germany next.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I'm not supposed to tell that, but I think
Heard it.
I think we're doing Germany next.
Okay.
We'll bleep that out, but I will say what you said was sehr good.
Because I know I have a friend that was in the Chicago one, and then it's West End, and I know that there were some changes that happened in between.
Oh.
A bunch.
Oh. There were a bunch of changes.
Well, she
this was one of the times I went to see a show for a friend, right? Kevin McCullum's producer. I know him very well. We've worked together. He produced the full Monty on tour for me, and he asked if I'd go take a look at the show, and I went to see the show, and then I gave him some friendly notes as a director choreographer, and wiped my hands and walked away as a friend. And then I get a phone call, and he says, "Elton saw your notes and would love to meet you." And I said, "Why?" I said, "Because he wants to meet you and talk about your notes." And I said, and he said, "Just meet with him." I said, "Well, I'd love to meet Elton John." So I go meet Elton John, and after 2 hours, he asks me if I will join him in presenting the show in London. And I said, "Will you write me new songs?" And he said, "I will." I said, "Then you've got a deal."
Yeah.
And we shook hands, and that was the deal. And he wrote me 5 new songs. I put in a couple songs that weren't in Chicago. I got a completely new design team and recreated the show. And I worked with the writers, Shayna, Kate, and Mark, and Elton, and with the producers, of course, Jamie and Kevin and David Furnish, and we all worked to go back to the movie and use the movie as the template for what's on stage, because that's what the audiences wanted to see with that show.
Yeah.
You know, the challenge of adapting a film to the stage is the more the audience loves it and knows it, the closer you have to stick to it.
Yeah.
The less they know it, like Kinky Boots, the more freedom you have to play, because nobody's coming in expecting to see, Vanessa Williams say, no, that wasn't a question, right? So, that's they have the words memorized.
Yeah.
When they come in.
No, we know it.
Right? On that show.
Yeah.
Pretty Woman too.
Same.
Right?
Pretty Woman was very
you've got to give her the hooker costume on Pretty Woman.
You have
You
to.
got to. I do.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess knowing the difference between when you can play and when you can't.
Yeah, and what do they want? You know, like I'm not going to put Elle Woods in yellow all night long. She's going to be in pink. But that was MGM Grand saying to me, there are a couple things you have to know if we give you these rights. You have to protect the IP and Elle Woods in pink, and you need to have a Chihuahua in the show. I said,
Yeah.
I know who to go. I know who to go to.
Right.
This reminds me of like in Jersey Boys at the big number at the end, and they're just like, they're not singing it, they're kind of playing around it, and one of the characters just goes, just sing the goddamn song, and then they finally kick into it, and it like gave us all this relief as the audience, and be like, thank God they're playing the song,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So it's
But
interesting to know. Yeah, I know my friend that was in Devil Wears Prada. She goes, you know, we were doing it in Chicago, and I remember Elton John came in, and he was like, that was okay. She was like, okay. And he's like, we've got to work some stuff around.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, massive changes, and now it's thriving on the West End, and I can't wait till we get it here. And I do have to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart as a 43-year-old woman. Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Whoa! Yes.
Well, finally, do you know that like somehow the rights were something where like they wouldn't put it anywhere, it wasn't streaming, and now it's finally streaming everywhere.
Yes.
It's on planes. I
Yes.
just watched it
Yes,
on a
you can
flight.
watch it.
You choreographed.
I
And,
did.
okay, I mean, I just am like laughing thinking about the bench scene and the paint and everything. And how is it like? Because obviously they're going to have you do it, and they're like, "Can you kind of do this?" It's like it's more farcical. And so, how do you approach something like that, or like doing that to be like, this is kind of supposed to be a little like tongue in cheek and a little like not necessarily because you're amazing choreography, and then they're like, "We need you to paint. We need you to do it with the bench.
We need you to dance with. We need you to dance with Jesus on a cross.
We need you to dance with." Yeah.
And I went, can his arms come off?
Yes. We need, and there's a wheelchair scene.
Yes. So you know, it was so much fun to do it. This was my I want to call my film phase of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped dancing, I was 23, 26. I said, I don't want to be a choreographer. For 17 years, I was an associate and assistant, and I didn't dance anymore in Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And I went back to the Will Rogers Follies when I was 30 to dance in it because Jeff Calhoun, who I'd done the Whorehouse movie together as a dancer when we were 20, was assisting Tommy. He said, I need somebody in this show who's got a great body, who can dance on a drum and also be a wrangler. And I said, Jeff, I don't do it now. I'll never do it. So I was naked on a drum dancing.
Amazing.
And which I couldn't do today because I'm not an Indian, but which is fine and right. But you know, when we did it, I got a lot of attention, created Broadway Bares, but I still was not getting hired as a Broadway choreographer. We were doing the Will Rogers Follies, and Eric Shepard, who represented Tommy Tune at the time, was freelancing with me as a choreographer, and he said, hey, listen, Tommy got asked to do a movie. He's not going to do it. So I'm calling you. You want to go across the street tonight and meet the producers of this film. They need a choreographer to help them with a scene. I said, sure. So I went across to 750 7th Avenue at 11:30 at night to meet Ron Schwery and Marty Bress. They were shooting a scene in the front lobby of a high-rise with a red Ferrari there and a salesman. And I was going, what's going on? And they said, come tomorrow. We've got a star, and they're dancing, and they're getting very frustrated, and they want to cut the scene because they can't learn anything. I said, who is it? They said, just come tomorrow. And I said, okay. So I show up at the dance studio. I look in the corner, and I look over in the corner, and tango music is playing, and Al Pacino is being pushed around the floor by this gorgeous girl in a tango. And they go, he's very frustrated. I said, well, he's not learning choreography. She's just pushing him around the floor. I said, if you want him to do something on camera, you have to teach him 8 counts and have him repeat it 10 times, and then give him the next 8, and then put that to that 8, and that's how you choreograph a sequence that the actor can then repeat. And they said, oh, well, would you help us? I said, sure, let's start right now. I taught him half of that dance that day. Al Pacino was flying high. He was so happy. He said, you want a cappuccino, kid? I'll get you a cappuccino. He got me a cappuccino. We had cappuccinos. The producer came over, gave me $2,500 in cash and said, you've just saved the scene. You've saved our lives. Thank you. I did the film, Scent of a Woman, that tango sequence, and then I got called to do In and Out with Kevin Kline. All of these movies, and one of the movies I got called to go to Minneapolis to do the Drop Dead Gorgeous. I don't think it was called something else at the time, but that was the title that it became. Yeah. And Dairy Queens it was called. And then it was called Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I just did what I had to do. And, you know, I'm sitting in the room with, you know, Kirsten Dunst, who's a baby, having her tap dance, trying to teach her to tap dance. I had a tap dance double, Pam Remler, who's now a stage manager. I had Denise Richards. I had Brittany Murphy, God bless her, brilliant. Amy Adams,
Yes.
who was working in Minnesota, I think at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater, where I had choreographed, and she knew I was going to do Broadway. And she would follow me around and go, I just want to be in a Broadway show, Jerry. I just want to be in a Broadway show. So finally, when Laura Bell was leaving, I call her to be in Legally Blonde, take over. And she goes, I just got this movie. It's called Enchanted at Disney, and I can't do it. And
Stop.
I mean, come on. So this group of ladies, I was able to,
and Ellen Barkin, and
I was able
Allison
to play with these ladies
Yeah.
every day. And they would do anything. The crazier, the better. And so it was, we came in to shoot the conga, the paint scene.
Yeah.
And they only had one set of clothes. They had no doubles for the girls. And I said, they're going to get paint all over them. How are we going to do this? So I then, on set that day, had to shoot a master with no paint so the editors would know what the number was going to be.
Yeah.
And then we would shoot up to the first piece of paint, and then we would cut and shoot that 4 times, then shoot up to the next handprint, then shoot to the butt handprint, and then shoot to the next. And we just kept having to shoot like sequence in order 4 or 5 times, adding it because we only had one set of clothes.
That's crazy.
Guerrilla filmmaking. I think that film was made for $10.
Honestly,
And it should have been, and it was perfect.
it's perfect, and it still holds
It might
up.
be coming to Broadway.
Jerry, don't tease me. This is, I would die. It's still like, even my, just kidding, in his shirt, even my dad's like, that movie is hilarious. That movie is, I would die if that came to Broadway. So fingers crossed, and I love it.
She would drop dead.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
You would drop dead.
I would drop dead. Gorgeous. Mike, you want to ask your question?
Yeah. What is there a show that you've done in your career that you wish people would ask you about more?
Yes.
Or that you're like, oh, I never get to talk about
Yeah.
the show, but it's like, man, this was the one.
No, not really. I talk a lot.
Fair enough. Well, I forgot. I didn't think about the question because you've been chronologically talking about so much. I was like,
I know.
yeah, I don't think this guy's
Yeah.
got one that.
Yeah, because if there's one that you haven't. So then let me ask you this question. What is the thing that you're most proud of? What do you think of your body of work? Because
Well, Broadway Bares.
Broadway Bares. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I mean, how long has it been running?
this will be the 34th year this year.
That's amazing.
Over $30 million raised for Broadway Cares.
I love it.
I mean, I came to New York in 1980. I lost my first friend from college to AIDS by 84, and then I lost Michael, and then by 1990, when I was in the Will Rogers Follies, I had lost 10 of my college friends.
Yikes.
No one should no adult should lose 10 of their best friends by the time they're 30 years old, right? From one single disease.
Yeah.
That's just unheard of. And nobody was doing anything about it. And I felt helpless, like so many gay men in the city. And so I went to GMHC and I licked stamps for the walkathon. And I went to an ACT UP event, but I wasn't really a rowdy, political, riot kind of guy at that time. I am now.
Right.
But
we all are.
We all are. We
Yeah.
have to be. But
Yes.
I was in the show, dancing naked, getting all this attention, and I thought. And my dressing roommate, Jason Opsahl, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, he had brain cancer, but he said, why don't you go dance on the bar at Splash in that costume and make some money for the Easter bonnet competition, which we were doing.
Sure, yeah.
The cast was doing. I said, okay. And so I called 8 other guys who were on Broadway in shows who I knew who had equally gorgeous bodies. And I put together a little Magic Mike strip show, right?
Yeah.
And I choreographed the opening and the closing. We all did a solo strip, and we go danced on the bar in our G-string, and they were putting in dollars. And the owners came to me. We were almost done, and he said, if we kick everybody out, it's only midnight. We could get everybody to come back in, pay a second entry fee, get raise double the money, do a second show, and get more tips. And I said to the guys, another show? And they said, sure. It's 12 o'clock. We were all fucking having a ball.
Right.
So they gave us a tray of tequila shots. We did a second show, and Broadway Bares was born. And it was so successful. I went home with a pillowcase full of wet dollars because
Amazing.
they had showers, and we were all wet. And, it was just gross. But we went home with a pillowcase full of wet dollars. Later, Yvonne called me from Broadway Cares and said, "You made $8,000." I said, "Well, great. I'm going to do it in 6 months with girls, and we're going to make more."
Yeah.
So I put together Broadway Bares 2. We did it at Shout USA. We made $17,000. I had a free VIP bar, the first one, for $50 ticket and $10 ticket to get in. From the bar was from Edgar Bronfman Jr. in Seagram's, who was a friend of a friend. I said, I can do this better. I'll add themes. 6 months later, I did Broadway Bares 3 at Bump USA. And it took so much of my focus, ideas, creative juice to put these events on, and I was doing it all by myself with my few friends in the dressing room. And now dancers were calling me because the match had been struck and a flame had been lit, and it was fanned, and it was growing already. By the third one, Broadway Cares come on to produce it, and it just was one of those things that grew into this massive, incredible thing. And every star I asked, Nathan Lane, Rosie O'Donnell, Ricky Lake in the early days, and Magnuson, I mean, they all showed up. They all showed up and did it. And, it really turned into this one-night event now at Hammerstein Ballroom, where we sell 6,000 tickets and make. Last year we made $2.45 million, almost $2.5 million in one night.
That's wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I forget, are these all individual, or do they follow a story?
There's a theme.
There is a theme
for every year. Yeah, and so and that was always fun to do. But Broadway Bares has been so successful that we've done it for a short time in Vegas. We do it in San Francisco now. We did it for 10 years in the West End. It's not running right now, but it might come back. We do it in Italy now. It's called Italy Bares. We don't do it. They do it. A kid. Giorgio and Mauro got online with me during the pandemic. They wanted to do it. They've been doing it now. It's going to be the 5th or 6th year. I've been there for 2 or 3 of them. It's much different. It's much more Italian, artistic, and Catholic. Yeah. They don't get quite as naked as we do. But it's just it's what it's doing is it's breaking down the stigma of somebody with AIDS can't be a full person, right? You know, you can be absolutely live a full life, be a full person now. And that wasn't the case when I created it. I was losing too many friends, and that's why I did it. But, they gave me the Isabel Stevenson Tony Award a few years ago, and, somebody said, well, I said, that Tony Award represents something much more than just a show. It represents all of the shows. It represents all of the performers, all of the actors, all of the stage hands, all of the stage managers. It represents the community and what you can do when you come together. If you can come together, if there's a way to come together, you can do anything. But I was raised that way, you see. Yeah. So that's the thing you're most proud of, and rightfully so. I mean, that's incredible, starting off from $8,000 in a bag of wet ones to $2.5 million. Jerry, nothing. Bag of wet ones, I'll take it.
That should be the theme of the next one. Bag of wet ones, Broadway Bares Hall. Jerry, you've been lovely. I have one final question for you, okay? And I think we might have, no. I think we might have asked him that at the Fleas, so I want to do our old question. Do you still have that?
One.
Do you have that? Yes. Okay. Jerry, this is our final question. It says a lot about you. It is our cat's horoscope. I have to ask you, what Jellicle cat are you most attracted to?
What Jellicle cat?
Yes.
I don't even know if I know all of them, but I'm going to say Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry. Wow. Do we remember what Mungo Jerry?
I
don't think we've had a Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer. We're something incredible cats.
Oh, wait. I think Mungo Jerry...
Acrobats.
Yes. I think that maybe means that you are the English version of Lindsay Lohan in Parent Trap. Rumpelteazer would have been the American one. So you're the English one. Jerry, thank you so much. How can people find you? And are we allowed to ask what the next is? Becoming Nancy the next project? Or is it dropped in?
Well, Becoming Nancy is waiting for a theater in London. I hope we get one.
Great.
I'm going all around the world. I've got companies of. Kinky Boots is going out with Anya Nerve from the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Amazing.
They're in rehearsal right now. I've got Prada's going to Germany. I've got Pretty Woman in Australia, South Africa, and Japan. Kinky Boots is killing in Korea right now. Killing.
Amazing.
And but I'm working on a couple of new musicals. The one I'm doing right now is called A Dirty Little Secret, and it's based on the secret court of 1920, where a group of young gay men were kicked out of Harvard University because they were found out to be having homosexual or gay parties in Perkins 28.
Oh wow!
They were all kicked out, and two of them committed suicide.
Oh.
And it was not discovered until 2003. This story and this idea by Amit Paley, who was at the CEO of the Trevor Project.
Okay.
And it was written up in the Crimson, and there have been versions of it. There was an off-Broadway play at one point, but these guys have written a new musical about it. Jonathan Sheffer and Bruce Roberts. They came to me, and I'm finding the love story in the tragedy of this story.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and why does it work today? Because when white men in power are trying to other anyone, is that really not still happening?
It's happening.
And we can't let it happen.
I agree.
Right? So
I agree.
it's a really, and the songs are gorgeous, and a lot of great stuff.
Very fun. So that's
cool.
what we got. And where can people find you on Instagram?
Well, you can find me at Jammy Prod, right? Jerry Mitchell or Jammy Prod, I think, is on Instagram.
And continue to support all the shows.
All
the shows on
I'll
Broadway.
tell you everything
and
that's
all the shit
happening
that Jerry
on
does.
Instagram.
Jerry, thank you so much. Everybody else, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Let's give him his applause. Follow Mike, follow Jerry, follow me, follow the podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, tell 17 friends, okay? And thank you. We'll see you again. Bye-bye. Jerry, thank you.
Thank you so much.